Hello and welcome to With Winning in Mind. I am your host, Troy Bassham, along with our special guest, Lanny Bassham, who's not only my father, but happens to be an Olympic gold medalist, multiple world champion, national record holder for over 14 years, and has written multiple books. I would say best-selling author. And we are going to talk to him about the Olympic Games. So since the Olympics are coming up, I thought it would be good just to visit with you and say, what are your thoughts on the Olympics? And I got several questions on this, but the first one I want to kind of get out of the way is just for those who aren't familiar with when you went to the Olympics, because I think some people know you went to one, but I don't think everyone remembers you actually went to two Olympics, and kind of give a background to everyone on what years, what sport, what did you win, if you did win, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, let's see. I've been to the Olympics 4 times, 2 as a competitor and 2 as a coach. The first Olympics was 1972 in Munich. And in my sport, international rifle shooting, only 2 shooters per country can compete in the rifle events. So we had a tryout. And in 1972, and I managed to finish second in the tryout. And my teammate John Ryder finished first, and he was at the peak of his career. He was reigning world champion, held the world record, had won a silver medal at the previous Olympics. So he was kind of famous. And Munich is kind of the epicenter for international rifle. Probably more international shooters in that part of the world than any other part of the world, certainly at that time in history. And so he was kind of a famous guy. Nobody knew me. I mean, that's the first Olympic team I'd made. And actually, I hadn't won anything of any kind of no national championships or World Cups or World Championships or anything like that. I'd made the U.S. team for about 3 years. But so the experience in '72 was, well, how did you make it? I went around some famous shooters to make the team. And Ryder was super famous. I was nobody. And so I have some vivid memories of the first Olympics, because we would get in there all the athletes are probably already at the Tokyo Olympics. I mean, we're weeks away from the Olympics, but all the athletes are probably there, and they're getting acclimated and maybe having some training. And so we would go out the first day we went out to train. He gets off the bus, and there's 100 media people trying to get to Ryder to interview him. And I mean, everywhere he walked, he was surrounded. He was like a rock star, And the whole time I was there, I had one interview. A guy talked to me for about 30 minutes until he found out I wasn't Jack, and he left. So it was kind of a different experience for me. It was like the first Olympics. I mean, it was great to make an Olympic team and all. And my training scores were equal to his. And so I learned a lot from. It's just at the beginning of the winning part of my career. So we get in the tournament, and I thought personally that Ryder there's a potential for him to choke in the Olympics, because not that I've ever seen him choke. It was the fact that there was so much pressure on him. I mean, he was favored to win. He was on the cover of every shooting magazine in the world. He had taken all these interviews, and silver medalist at the previous Olympics. I mean, he had to win the gold medal, and there's a lot of pressure on the guy who's favored to win. So I felt like there's more pressure on him than there is on me. So what if he chokes a little bit, and I win. If I win, the fact that I hadn't won anything in 3 years on the U.S. team, But if you win the Olympics, you're redeemed, man. I mean, you have you check the box, the big box.
It changes everything.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking about winning, and I'm thinking about beating Jack, and boy, this is my great opportunity, and all that stuff. And and the Olympics start, and he doesn't choke, but I do.
Yeah, but then if you fast forward to 76. It totally the script flipped for you, because now it's 76. You're the current world champion. You're the current favorite to win. You're the one that has everything to lose if you don't win the gold medal, and you wind up winning the gold medal in 76.
Yeah.
And so walk us through a little bit. I mean, we know a little bit about the history with mental management and developing and that kind of stuff, but from the experience in 1972 in Munich, compared to the experience in 1976 in Montreal, both in the Olympics and in the sport of rifle shooting, where you were in one part of your career versus another one, because now you haven't won anything significant, but fast forward 4 years, you're the favorite to win because you've been winning at the highest level. How is that different? And walk us through some of that experience.
Well, 76, well, first of all, in 1972, I didn't know anything about the mental game at all. I mean, it was back in those days. We felt like that mental toughness, the ability to handle the pressure and to shoot well in big tournaments, was something you had. It wasn't something you could learn, and so because it wasn't something you could learn, nobody was trying to learn it. And when I got home from the Olympics in 72, I realized that the mental game was the reason why I wasn't winning. And so I wanted to take a course on how to manage the mind under pressure. And when I couldn't find a course that gave me really the confidence that I could use that information to win, I started interviewing Olympic gold medalists and world champions and from other sports to find out what they knew about the mental game. So I thought, well, maybe there's information out there I don't know. And over the next 2 years, a lot of phone calls at night to Olympic champions, I found that this evidence started to pile up, and I started connecting the dots, and I realized that there is a system to this to have mental consistency. And so I created this system, upgraded to it, and we have the World Shooting Championships every 4 years, just like the Olympics every 4 years. So there's a world title on the line every other year in our sport. And so the first opportunity I had to really make this mental management thing work was the World Championships in 1974. So I go into the World Championships, I run my program, and I enter 6 individual events and win 3 of them, and I walk out of that there with 15 medals in the World Championships and 4 world records, and I mean I'm on top, because the big difference between 72 and 76 was mental management, was being able to control the mind. And so by the time I go into the Olympics in 76 in Montreal, the pressure was on me, because Ryder finishes 3rd in the tryout, so he doesn't make the team. Margaret Murdoch makes the team, and she's the only woman on the line in the Olympics. Men and women competed together in those days in shooting. And she had been a world champion before. She was a famous shooter and one of the top 4 or 5 guys on the U.S. team all the time. And so we're going into the Olympics, but I'm at a different mindset, not just because I've been winning, but because I've got a mental process that is proven, and one of the biggest differences between 76 and 72 is in 72, I remember thinking right before I go on the line to compete, all my thoughts were on score, outcome, beating Jack, all about results. And in 1976, I remember right before I go into the line to compete, I was thinking about running my mental process, and I knew that if I do that well, my form is going to be good, and I'm going to maximize my performance by thinking about running this mental system that I had come up with, and it worked, and I needed every bit of help because I hadn't planned on the fact that Margaret Murdoch would shoot out of her mind that day, but she did, and she shot great, and so it was. We ended up tying, but they had a little quirky tie-breaking procedure. None of us liked the tie-breaking procedure, but because of the tie-breaking procedure that was currently in use at that time, I won the gold medal and she won the silver medal.
Yeah, she was really, really good back then. But the thing that I thought was interesting is you're now putting yourself in a position to where you're not going to beat yourself. Like in 72, it wasn't that you lost. It was probably as much as that you beat yourself, allowing Ryder to just cruise to victory. 76, that wasn't going to happen. You were going to say, look, if someone's going to beat me, they're going to have to shoot out of their mind.
Yeah.
And good thing you were prepared because, she obviously shot really, really well, one of the best scores and performances she probably ever had. And I don't know, people today probably can't understand how good she was back then, but you're looking at one time, the top 4 shooters in the world were all from, in that era, were all from the United States.
Oh, I remember a tournament we had, I can't really recall if it was the Pan Am Games or Championship of the Americas or one of those, where all 4 of us broke the individual world record in 3-position 50 meters on the same day.
Wow, that had been cool.
Yeah. So we finished 1, 2, 3, 4. We finished 1, 2, 3, 4 in the Olympics and the World Championships in 1974, and it was and it was interesting. In 74, Ryder won the 50-meter event. I won the 300-meter event, but but there was only 1 point difference between Ryder's gold medal win in 50 meters and the silver and bronze medal. Wigger and I were 1 point behind Ryder in the race for the gold medal. And Wigger and I had the same score, but he got the silver medal. I got the bronze on the same tie-breaking procedure that allowed me to win the gold medal. And in 76, so I ended up with a bronze individual medal, 1 point behind Jack, and so we were dominant during that period of time. I don't think there's ever been a 4-person team. Now they, the teams. The rules have changed over the years. They shoot 3-person teams now on the World Championships instead of 4. I don't know why they do that, but they change things all the time. But at that time, we had the depth, we had the ability to. You pretty much guaranteed that American was going to medal in 3-position Olympics, and we've had good shooters since then. But I don't think we've ever had as many good shooters at one time as we had in the 70s.
Well, I think you're right about the dominance part of it. We still have that today in other sports.
Yeah.
Maybe not in our discipline that you and I competed in, but as far as shooting, I know there's one area that we're real dominant in, and that's skeet, women's skeet specifically. We have 3 women that are arguably 1, 2, 3. On any given day, they can win. They've won the last 2-3 years. One of them is kind of rotating, and that means one of them has to stay home this year in the Olympics. And so we were talking a little bit about that. Does that have any, by not having it last year, did that give one of these people an advantage? And we could also look at other sports, track and field, swimming. Those are 2 sports that the United States dominates. Typically, we're very competitive every Olympic year. But I think one thing that a lot of people might not think about is the fact that, well, wait a minute, we're so good in these sports that it could be that one of the top in the world, like top 10 in the world, could be sitting home just because you can only take so many per country.
Oh,
So what's your opinion on the fact that we are a year later because of the situation we had in the world? It's not every 4 year. This time it's a fifth year now. Do you think that gives more people an advantage, or do you think it's a disadvantage for more? Or do you think it really matters? Do you think the best will rise to the top regardless of it being 1 year later?
I think the best will rise to the top. I think the people that are everybody that's been selected deserves to be selected. Whether it was a 4 year or a 5 year, I think that you cannot doubt the fact that whatever the tryout procedure is, that the person that wins that slot deserves to go. The problem is that certain people probably would have made a team and deserved to go if it was a 4 year situation. It would the number in some cases is the same people, but we know of situations where the person that in 4 years, like if they'd have gone in 2020, it would have been a different team than in 5 years, because the situation in a year, almost all sports, you have guys that come up and you have guys that go down, and it's the national championships it's hard to duplicate, to be so dominant that you win over a long period of time. Especially in sports where we have so many good shooters, especially like in skeet, for example. So I think that it's just the way it is. You know, nobody saw this coming, and people that were in maybe the best shape of their life in 2020, and they were going around people that are actually going to take them out of the Olympics in 2021. That's just the way it goes. I mean, you can't. I'm happy for the people that are going to be able to go to Tokyo. I'm unhappy that their parents are not going to be able to go, or their spectators are not going to be able to go. It's a tough time to be able to. I know that it's going to be a little bit of a different Olympics just because of COVID, but you know, we'll get past this, and
it won't change anything for international rifle because people don't watch international rifle typically, so I'm sure they won't experience it.
Well,
But
that's not
true. Well, you're tracking. Well, I'll put it this way: if you ever watch the Olympics on TV, you're going to see track and field. You're going to see swimming.
Oh.
You know, you're going to see those events. You're not going to see international rifle.
Oh, but
you're going to have to look it up online and go through there. And then if you look up in the stands, you have 20 to 80,000 people watching swimming to, and how many people can you get in that arena, right? To 80,000 or more in a track arena. I mean, you're looking at quite a difference between maybe 1,000 people in a rifle venue.
Well, but you should have been there if you would have been there in 1974 when we held the World Shooting Championships in Switzerland. They couldn't have gotten another person in that venue, and they had people watching the 300-meter event. Thousands of people were watching it, and depending on the part of the world where. If you go to the part of the world where shooting is popular, you're going to have a big crowd, you know. And in other countries, especially Olympic style shooting, in America we have a lot of different shooting sports, but our international sports are there's competition with American style. Like we have American skeet, international skeet. So most Americans shoot American skeet. They don't shoot international skeet. So it's but in most countries or in Europe, they only have one kind of skeet, and then that's Olympic skeet. Yeah. So and countries like Germany, like Switzerland. Where Olympic rifle shooting is really very popular. You have a lot of people that go out and watch it. But of course, you're talking about the TV show the Olympics TV show. Well, I'm sure that the people that have to finance all of this, they want things that are popular all around the world. I mean, and things that are have a lot high entertainment value. Personally, most people have never seen an international rifle event. I will say that it's not as exciting to watch Olympic rifle shooters compete as it is to watch, say, biathletes compete or some sports,
track and
swimming, and gymnastics and things.
So
like
now
that.
you're coming to my world, and I like how you used 1974 World Championships, where there are a ton of people when. That was all shooting in 1974. We're dealing with the Olympic Games, so we get a little disagreement here on the show. But my point I was making is this. When you're at the Olympic Games and you have spectators, right, where are you going to go? You have a short period of time. You have a 2-week window, and you're going to go watch the best athletes in the world in all these different events. How do you choose where to go? You can't see everyone compete. So you're going to go to certain venues to watch these individuals. I'm just saying, unfortunately, we're in a sport where our sport is a little bit lower on the totem pole. One, a lot of people don't know about it. Two, I think it's really fun to watch, especially today when we shoot on electronic targets. People can see what your result is. People can see how you're shooting compared to other people because you can see the main board on the side. And then the finals have gotten so much better. And we'll probably have to talk about that one day as far as how our sports evolved and so on and so forth. But I will say one of the advantages today in the Olympics compared to, let's say, the 1970s is we have the internet. We can actually go in and watch any sport that we want. So I want to encourage people who haven't thought about this is think about it. There's not a sport that you can't go to online during the Olympic Games and watch.
That's right.
In the past, we didn't have that. In the past,
you couldn't do that.
We would go and just have whatever they wanted to show us on TV. And what really, one of the things I was going to ask you, and I'll just segue into it now and ask you this, is what's your biggest pet peeve about the Olympics? My biggest pet peeve as an American watching the Olympics is I want to watch the American compete. I want to see our countryman or woman compete against other countries. And I don't care what sport it is, but I really don't care about, two countries. Like, I don't really care about South Korea going against Germany in a pool event in soccer. I could care less about that when at the same time there's an American that's probably trying to get a medal in the semi or the finals in their sport. Let me watch that. I don't care if it's table tennis. I don't care if it's shooting sports. I don't care if it's track and field. So my big pet peeve is I wish, and I'm sure there's a reason I don't know of it, so I'll apologize in advance, but I'm in the United States. I'm watching it. We've got U.S. news outlets, or TV outlets filming these things. Show me the Americans. I want to see it all the time.
Well, we used to watch the Olympic. We used to watch Canadian television sometimes when we were watching the Olympics back when, you had to watch what ABC or NBC selected for you to watch. And it's so much better today. I mean, you've got multiple channels that you can watch. The Olympic, the IOC does, I think, they gets better every time I watch the Olympics about covering everything and being able to give you the option of going online to be able to see those sports. I really enjoy. If you want to see some exciting sports, watch archery. Archery is extremely exciting because it's a match plate kind of thing, and the finals in rifle and pistol and all of our sports and shotgun. All the finals are set up to be exciting because you always know where the athletes are, what they have to do. There's commentators there, and so if you've never seen an Olympic shooting event, check it out. Check it out online, and I think you'll see some entertainment value there. But I think that the media coverage, the reason people don't know about this is because the media doesn't cover shooting sports in the United States at all. So you might occasionally see biathlon. Matter of fact, most of the people, when they say, well, you won a gold medal in the Olympics, what event were you in? And I say shooting, well, they think it's biathlon, because they don't even know that there are multiple shooting events in the summer games. I mean, there's rifle, pistol, shotgun, and multiple events in those disciplines. They don't even know that because it's not televised in this country.
Well, outside of track and field, swimming and diving, shooting sports is third in participation.
That's right. There are more. And at one time, I heard this statistic, and I think it's true. At one time, one shooting sport had more countries competing in that shooting sport than in any other sport in the entire Olympic program, which is hard for me to believe that there wouldn't be What you mean? Every country doesn't have 100-meter events, but the outdoor prone event, the 50-meter small bore prone event,
which they took out
took out of the Olympics, which.
That's a personal pet peeve of ours because
yeah. You take out. I was world champion in 300 meters in 1974, and that 300-meter event had been in the Olympics all the years before. I shot that event in '72, and my teammate Lonis Wigger won the gold medal in '72. I win the World Championships in '74, looking forward to shooting in that competition in '76, and they take it out for Montreal. So it was.
But I say bring back men's prone and let women have that event as well.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Give them an event in that. I would say the same thing for free pistol. Bring that event back and let women have their own event there. I'm all about the more people that can compete and win. I'm all for, but eliminating events and that kind of stuff. And we could go all day about the changes and that kind of stuff. What I want to know is, so you've been to 2 Olympics as a competitor, 2 Olympics as a coach. So what is, one, your favorite thing about the Olympics personally as a person who went there? And then 2, what's the one thing that really just either you don't like or just bugs you?
Well, just making an Olympic team is a great honor. I heard someone say one time that Olympians separate themselves from all other competitors, and Olympic medalists separate themselves from all other Olympians, and Olympic gold medalists separate themselves from all other medalists.
Wow, that's pretty cool comment.
And Kim Rode separates herself from all other gold medalists. Are people who
you might want to explain to them who Kim Rode is.
Well, okay, so Kim Rode has won an individual medal in 6 Olympics, and she's
consecutive Olympics.
Consecutive Olympics. She's won an individual medal in 6, and she's a skeet shooter for American skeet shooter, and I don't think anybody's ever matched her. She was the first one to go 5 Olympics, winning a medal, and I don't think anybody has matched that yet. But in Rio, that was her 6th Olympics, and she won the gold medal there. So it's she's definitely an example of a long career, and she's still a young woman. She can still compete more if she wants to, but it is a the strength of being in the Olympics is just making an Olympic team. What's different about the Olympics, and it is so special, is that in almost all sports, you go to a competition, like you go to a shooting competition, there's just shooters there. Okay, there's not any other sports, but in the Pan American Games and the Olympics, those are 2 opportunities where if you make those teams, you get to go and you're there for a while, and you get to meet the best in those sports are there, and so you develop friendships that last a lifetime by being able to share a meal with them, or to walk around the Olympic Village with them, or watch them train. And so I think the special times for me about the Olympics was being able to go with another Olympian in another sport that was kind of at the same spot that I was at. Like I spent a lot of time with Darrell Pace, an archer, Olympic archer, who won the gold medal the year that I won mine, and go to training with Darrell and watch him train and talk to him, and then he came to my training and watched me, and and we would go watch gymnastics, because they were practicing for the event. So you could go over there and watch all the people that you're going to see on television, and because we could get up really close because we were competitors, so we got into the right gates and also just the experience of being able to do that, because you can't do that anyplace else, and you gotta earn the right to go, so. But that was very special to me, and I always enjoyed that. Even as in 1974, in 1984, when I coached at the Olympics in Los Angeles, I was not in the official. I wasn't an official coach for a U.S. team. I had students that were competing in the Olympics, and so I was not. I didn't stay at the Olympic Village, but in 1988 in Korea, I was actually the rifle coach for India, and I was coaching an Indian champion, and so they said, well, we'll send you as our rifle coach, and that was different, because now I got to stay in the Olympic Village, and I got to. Just like a competitor does, the coaches stay with their athletes, and so it was. Again, I got to experience that, even though it had been a while since I'd competed. But that's always really a super special thing for me. As far as what I don't like about it, this isn't a big pet peeve. I mean, I probably would have chosen your pet peeve as if you hadn't taken it first, because I think that's really a pet peeve of mine. But I think what bothers me more than anything else is some people are sitting in like the IOC. They're sitting in committees, and they're thinking, okay, how can I make this Olympics? I don't know. What's the goal? Is the goal to select the best athletes in the world? Now, don't get me wrong. I think everyone who wins a gold medal, regardless of their situation, has proven that of the people that are there, given the conditions and the rules and regulations, they came out on top. They deserve the recognition. They deserve the medal. They deserve all that kind of stuff. But no country in the world selects their Olympic team the way we select an Olympic champion. And I mean, it's just not done on one attempt, and they don't select teams on one race or on one game or one. You have the World Series, you have the NBA championships, you have there's a series of competitions. Now I understand why they can't do that, because it's a spectacle, it's an event, and all that kind of stuff. But what bothers me is that you will have a sport that's had a long tradition, and they'll take it out for some new idea. Okay, if you have a new idea, well, adding another sport to the Olympics. I'll give you an example. What they're doing at this Olympics is that gender equality is a big concern for the International Olympic Committee. And I'm all for that. Okay, so if you have you want to have the same opportunity for women as you have for men. Well, in our sport, we do have the same opportunity for women. Back in men and women competed together. When I was competing, there was no reason why a woman couldn't make an Olympic team when men and women shot together. It was equal for both sides. Now, after Margaret Murdoch tied me into the Olympics, they changed the rules to where we had separate events for women, which was good for me because I didn't have to shoot against Margaret anymore. So that was good. So we had more medal opportunities for us. So I'm all for women's sports. But what changed this year, and is that for this Olympics they introduced a tandem event. So this is a shooting event where you select a woman and a man, and they shoot as a team. Okay, that sounds like a good idea. I'm all for that. It's another event, another opportunity for a team event for sports. So they do that in archery. They do that in a lot of sports. So, but what they did that I don't like is that there's been a long-standing sport in rifle, the 50-meter prone event. It's been in the Olympics for a long time.
Since the beginning of the modern Olympics.
Since the beginning of the modern Olympics. And they take that event out and replace it with this tandem event.
And the tandem event, for people who don't know this, the tandem event is an air rifle event. And so air rifle, you're shooting standing up indoors at 10 meters with an air rifle, where the men's prone event is 50 meters with 22 caliber outdoors. So you're dealing with wind conditions. You're laying down. It's a whole different event. And I'm with you. I have, having two daughters myself, I'm for, the equality as far as let the women have as many events as the men do. Why not? It makes sense to me. And I hope there's other reasons why they did this as far as the taking one out and adding something. I just wish they would just added the women's event and the mixed event.
Yeah.
Of course, though, it also comes to this argument that was given to me by a modern superstar in the shooting sports realm. Because there's so many shooting events already with so many athletes, we're limited to what countries can support the Olympics right now because of the number of events and the number of athletes and coaches and sports staff that show up to events. So it's probably easier for them to take this one event out, put a mixed event, because how many people who are shooting the mixed event who's already the number one woman or the number one man shooter in that sport, all you're doing is creating an event, but you're not having to create more room for people to stay in an Olympic village and that kind of stuff. So that might be other avenues for it. But from an equality standpoint, I'm like, why not have I've never understood why women didn't have a prone event anyway in our sport. I know that gets into our passion is rifle shooting and shooting sports in general. But I thought it was interesting just to get your take on some of the things you liked, what didn't like. And speaking of liking, if you like the content that we have here, please subscribe to our channel and smash that like button. We really appreciate it. And we will have Lanny on many more times in the future talking about a lot of different things. Maybe we'll get a little bit more into our sport. If there's things that you are thinking about that you would like us to focus on, please contact us. You can either go through heather@middlemanagement.com or troy@middlemanagement.com and submit your questions there, and we'll use that for future content and put that out. So thanks for being here, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Take care.